Comic book fans are crazy and greedy. We are. It's okay. It's true. We always want more. Whether it's more movies, more games, more comics, we have always been a very vocal group when it comes to what we want. Sometimes we become so impatient that we turn to fan theories. These fan theories can be about literally anything, and oftentimes we look delusional creating them. Whether it's becoming convinced of a secret casting for a movie or fabricating an alternate ending for a disappointing TV show, it's just something that has become a part of comic book and superhero culture. Today, I'd like to talk about a theory that I feel has been on everyone's minds. Welcome to Cape and Cowl Cafe. I'm Nemo, and today we're going to decide once and for all if Teen Titans 2003 and the Batman 2004 really are in the same universe. If you guys enjoy the video at any point today, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that like and subscribe button, but let's hop right in. Now, before we get into whether or not these two shows are connected, we need to cover what they were about and how they interacted with each other while they were airing. Teen Titans premiered on Cartoon Network in July of 2003. Developed by Glenn Murakami, the show took heavy inspiration from Japanese anime while adapting Marv Wolfman and George Perez's iconic Teen Titans comic run. Instead of focusing on the Justice League or Batman, the series centered around 5 young heroes: Robin, Starfire, Raven, Beast Boy, and Cyborg. The show quickly became one of Cartoon Network's biggest successes, running for 5 seasons before ending in 2006. Only 1 year later, Warner Brothers released an entirely new Batman cartoon, The Batman. Premiering in September of 2004, this show was the spiritual successor to Batman, the animated series, and the new Batman Adventures. Absolutely massive shoes to fill. Now, instead of trying to copy it, the Batman decided to do something completely different. The show had a crazy art style that was completely different from the previous shows, and we were treated to a more back-to-basics Batman. At first, the show focused entirely on Bruce Wayne and his rogues gallery, but as the series progressed, it slowly expanded into the wider DC universe. We got introduced to Batgirl, the Justice League, and more importantly, Robin. Now, these shows were airing at almost exactly the same time. Teen Titans ended in 2006 and The Batman ended in 2008. So for almost 3 years, these shows coexisted. And naturally, fans began wondering if they were in the same universe. Could these shows be connected? Could these two versions of Robin actually be the same person? So today, we are going to try to answer that question with some hard evidence. Let's get started. Okay, so the biggest piece to this puzzle we're gonna have to look at is Robin. He is one of the only characters who appears in both shows. Let's cover the facts. The Robin in both shows is Dick Grayson. I know that there are weirdos out there who claim that it's Tim or Jason, but they're just wrong, okay? We know this because of context clues like seeing Nightwing in the future episode How Long Is Forever, or the 5th dimensional imp known as Larry, or Nasyarg Kassid, which is Dick Grayson spelled backwards, or, the flashback to Haley Circus in Season 3, Episode 5, Haunted. This is Dick Grayson, okay? No question, no debate, end of story. And then obviously Robin in the Batman 2004 is Dick Grayson because, well, obviously, it's Dick Grayson. Like, Batman calls him by name, Dick. Both of these Robins have similar costumes, haircuts, and they both fight with a bow staff. Both of these Robins are also known for their famous crash outs. Now, the popular theory is that Teen Titans takes place after the Batman wraps up. Looking at the theory from this lens, it actually makes a lot of sense, okay? The Batman has joined the Justice League by the end of Season 5, and this creates the perfect opportunity for Robin to go out on his own. Dick's age also lines up pretty much perfectly. A quick Google search tells us that Dick is 14 when he shows up in The Batman. This age most likely pops up because it matches the age of his voice actor at the time. There are no real clues as to what his actual age is in the show, but 14 feels right, so we're gonna use that. Now, Dick then works under the Batman for the entirety of Seasons 4 and 5, which in theory would make him 16 by the time he leaves to go join the Titans. There could be a small issue with assuming that a season in this context equals 1 year, because if it does, that would mean that Robin is 20 by the end of Teen Titans' 5th season. Not a big deal, because, Dick is currently 29 in the comics and is still an active member of the Titans, so whatever. But ideally, by the time he's 20, he would be Nightwing. So we're just gonna kind of have to accept that maybe a season doesn't exactly equal a whole year, and maybe some seasons are a little shorter or a little longer, whatever. Either way, Dick being 16 by the time he joins the Titans makes a lot of sense because in Season 2, Episode 6, Date with Destiny, we see Robin attend the junior prom with Kitten, Killer Moth's daughter. Robin couldn't really be much older or younger than 16 when this happens because that would be weird and it would make Killer Moth look like a bad father, and it would also make Robin look like a creep. So now the next piece of the puzzle I want to talk about is the other sidekicks. While Kid Flash and Speedy don't directly appear in the Batman, their mentors do. We see the Flash and Green Arrow as main characters working alongside the Batman in Season 5. It's not hard to imagine that they would also have sidekicks and could possibly send them out into the world just like Robin. Now, there is only one way this works. The Flash in the Batman cannot be Wally West. He has to be Barry Allen or Jay Garrick or just any other Flash that comes before Wally. That's all that matters, okay? Now, in Flash's episode in The Batman, it doesn't directly state who he is, but we do have some info from the Batman wiki page. Executive producer Alan Burnett said that he always saw the character as the Barry Allen version. Those scripts kind of left it up to the viewer. However, the biography of his action figure states that his identity is Wally West. So that's kind of a problem. But obviously, crew statements are more reliable than merchandise, but merchandise, they get things wrong all the time. So we're gonna go with what the creators of the show intended. Our Flash is Barry Allen, which supports our theory. Let's go. The next piece of evidence we are going to cover is a comic panel from Teen Titans Go issue number 27, not to be confused with this Teen Titans Go. In this panel, we get a brief look at Batman, and while it's not like definitive evidence, this version looks a lot like the 2004 version. This isn't like the biggest piece of the puzzle, but hey, every piece counts. There are so many similarities shared between the two shows. The art style is another one. Both of these shows have a very Eastern influenced visual style. Teen Titans is very much influenced by anime, while the Batman 2004's art style was created by Jeff Matsuda, who is also the art director for the Jackie Chan Adventures TV show. Again, just another small piece of the puzzle. We'll take any and all evidence that supports our theory. Now, let's address some contradictions, the biggest being Killer Moth's appearance. In the Batman 2004, we see Killer Moth when he joins Team Penguin, and he's just this stringy, weakling joke villain. You know, he's very, very submissive around his fellow villains, and he's just a joke. Like, he's the coffee boy, errand runner guy. And eventually, in the Batman 2004, he turns into the monstrous Chiraxus, and he actually maintains his human personality and is still a weakling, just Penguin's servant. It's kind of pathetic. But then in Teen Titans, we see him as this super buff and capable mob boss who also has a daughter. So this is a problem. You know, there's some differences here. So I don't know. This could be explained in a few ways, I guess. Like, one, Killer Moth found a way to turn back into a human and then hit the gym and gained like a ton of self-confidence. Or two, it's just a different Killer Moth. Character bios on the show's respective wiki pages state that both versions are jury walkers, so we'll just have to assume that Killer Moth from the Batman 2004 had a secret daughter and was also able to change back into a human and then had a complete personality shift. I know that's a stretch, like that's probably going to be the biggest reach in this video, but like it's possible, you know, people can change. One of the other contradictions is the future of these respective universes. How Long is Forever and Artifacts both give us a look at Nightwing, but the two versions are very different. The Nightwing we see in Teen Titans is operating completely alone, while the one in the Batman 2004 is still operating with the Dark Knight. This could be explained away by saying that maybe Dick just changed his costume or cut his hair, or that Nightwing was just visiting Gotham in the Batman 2004 and that's why Barbara didn't remember his new codename, but I like to look at these episodes as possible futures. Much like how DC loves to treat Batman Beyond or The Dark Knight Returns as like possible futures that aren't really canon but could happen, these futures just don't really exist, but rather are fun explorations of what could happen. So in our quest to discover if these shows are connected, you can just kind of take these episodes out of the equation. They don't really count as real valid evidence because they're like possible futures. They're not real. Now, I could talk about Jason Todd or Red X, but there'd really be no connection to the Batman 2004, so it's kind of pointless. Like, it's possible Batman could have taken in Jason after the end of season 5, and in some continuities, Jason's tenure as Robin only lasts like 6 months, so it's totally possible that he could exist in both. We just don't have enough information to really make a verified decision on this. There's also smaller details and pieces of evidence like name drops, references to Gotham, or even cameos from famous Batman characters like the Wayne Industries building, which doesn't necessarily have to match the one in the Batman 2004's Gotham, as Bruce Wayne could have just spread multiple throughout the country. He just has a bunch of buildings. It doesn't matter. So do I think that Teen Titans and the Batman really share a universe? Like, officially, no. Warner Brothers has never confirmed it. The creators have never come out and said, yes, they're in the same universe. Judging it purely by what appears on screen, the theory is surprisingly believable. Like, Robin's timeline works out. It works out with the Justice League. Batman and Wayne Enterprises exist in Teen Titans. Like, Batman is referenced multiple times. The two future episodes with Nightwing don't, you know, directly contradict each other because they're just possible futures. The Killer Moth problem is, you know, that's a problem. You know, they're very different in both shows, but you can make a few assumptions and suspend your disbelief a little bit, and there's still a chance they could be the same person. Is this, you know, fan theory airtight? Not really, you know, but compared to a lot of other fan theories that we come up with, this one has a lot going for it. So even though the creators of these two shows probably weren't plotting this conspiracy behind the scenes, it's still fun to think about. Teen Titans and the Batman 2004 probably aren't connected in the way we want them to be, but hey, we're comic book fans. Are we really gonna let executive producers and WB higher-ups stifle our creativity? If you ask me, these shows are connected, not by some planned out roadmap in a writer's room, but by our passion for these projects and our desire to see them expanded in some way. All right, that's gonna be it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed it all, I'd really appreciate appreciate it if you hit that like and subscribe button, and drop in the comments down below what you think of this theory. Are these two shows really connected? Let's talk about it. But yeah, until next time, I'll see you guys later.